Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw and what just happened. Today, we were in Ireland for Monday Night Raw, and man, it was a chaotic one. It was a very weird and chaotic Monday Night Raw. You know, whenever we get close to Royal Rumble time, there's people declaring for the Royal Rumble, there's storylines being built up for the Rumble matches, there's storylines being built up for the Royal Rumble in general, the match in general. So, without further ado, we're going to scroll through here, we're going to scroll through everything that happened, and we're going to talk about it and see what our thoughts are, what we're feeling. So, let's hop into it. We started off the show with Gunther coming out there, and obviously last week, AJ Styles and Gunther headlined Monday Night Raw. Gunther versus AJ Styles, and we would see Gunther beat AJ Styles. And we would see AJ interrupt them, but first Gunther would declare for the 2026 Royal Rumble, which we all expected. But we also all expected AJ Styles and Gunther to have a match at the Royal Rumble. Well, that's what we got as well. AJ Styles challenged Gunther to a rematch at the Royal Rumble, but Gunther said no because he doesn't want to do double duty at the Royal Rumble. So AJ Styles obviously not having any of that. Gunther accepts AJ's challenge to the rematch at the Royal Rumble as long as AJ Styles puts his career on the line at the Royal Rumble in a one-on-one match rematch with Gunther. So that is insane. Gunther says, I expect your answer by the end of the night unless you're a little bit scared. So Gunther calls him out. So that's interesting. So I don't know how I feel about this. Because obviously we scroll up a little bit, we find out that AJ Styles, it's official. AJ Styles says yes and confirms that he will put his career on the line at the Royal Rumble against Gunther. Do I like this decision by AJ? I don't know. Obviously, AJ has to win, but does he really? We know AJ already said he's going to retire in 2026. This is his last year of professional wrestling, but do you go out with Gunther? Gunther has already retired Goldberg and John Cena, so do you let him retire another legend in AJ Styles this early back to back? Because we just saw him retire Goldberg last year at Saturday Night's main event, and now we're going to be able to see him retire AJ Styles potentially? That's crazy. But how will AJ Styles be able to get the job done if he already didn't get the job done once? How will he be able to get it done this time? I don't know, but there has to be some way because I can't see a world where AJ Styles retires in 2 weeks. There's just no way. I think AJ has a lot more to do. He has to win the IC title that we've been promised pretty much. So, man, there's a lot for AJ Styles to be doing besides beefing with Gunther and putting his career on the line. But also, if you put your career on the line and then months down the road you actually retire and put your career on the line again, then what does that say? You know what I mean? I think that AJ Styles should not go out by a career on the line match. I think he should go out on his own will. Maybe the last episode of Monday Night Raw or something, he goes off. But I just don't know, man. You know, he just appeared on TNA. He just opened up the AMC debut of TNA. So I mean, was that the last step for him? I don't know, but that's very sad to see him put his career on the line at the Royal Rumble and potentially be retiring in 2 weeks. Crazy. We would see Natalya in the back and tell Maxine Dupree that she will be in her corner for her Intercontinental Championship, a rematch against Becky Lynch. So that was interesting. I mean, obviously, we all expected her to be in the corner, but it was cool seeing her finally. And then we would see the shocker of a lifetime. But was it really a shocker? We would see Natalya put Becky Lynch's foot on the rope whenever Natalya had it won, and Maxine Dupree would be accosted by Natalya, which she thought was her friend after training at the dungeon to prepare for these matches. Natalya has said pathetic to obviously Maxine Dupree and would cost her the match where Becky Lynch would get up and she would have to lose. And once again, losing a rematch to Becky Lynch. So last week we know Becky Lynch regained that championship, but now this week Natalya cost Maxine Dupree the title. So that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Do I think that was the right decision? Yes and no. I think that Natalya, obviously, it was cool seeing her and all, but at the same time, you know, it's Maxine Dupree. You got to keep the title on her. But we would see The Vision versus Penta and Rey Mysterio, where obviously Wrestling News Co. was not very happy about that, as Austin Theory would get pinned by Penta, and he would say, so Austin Theory just ate the pin? And that's kind of how I felt as well. Obviously, we would see Adam Pearce on ringside, and he would be taking the knuckles away, the brass knuckles away from Paul Heyman and Austin Theory, but then Rey Mysterio would use it to his advantage and end up winning by those brass knuckles, where Penta would hit the Mexican Destroyer on, or the, Mexican Destroyer onto Austin Theory. I forgot what they they started calling it on the Indies. It was a funny name. I forgot. We'll probably come back to it. But yeah, Penta ended up pinning Austin Theory to have the Vision lose. But then to add on to the little storyline that we got going on here, Adam Pearce would invite Braun Breaker back to Monday Night Raw next week to have a civil conversation between the two. Now, Adam Pearce says he's a man. He thinks Braun Breaker's a man, so they're going to have a face-to-face talk next week. Adam Pearce, that might not be what you want. Judging by the look on Paul Heyman's face in this photo, I don't think that's what you want to do. But I mean, if we're going for it, we're going for it. Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman will go face to face next week and talk like real men on Monday Night Raw. So that's going to be interesting. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky would come out there, obviously women's tag team champions, and they would declare for the Royal Rumble match. I thought that was, cool. But also, at the end of the day, we always see people like this do it. But whenever you got a match on Saturday, do you want to be declaring for the Rumble this early? Because Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez would also all declare for the Women's Royal Rumble, which means there's just a whole stack in the Rumble. Everyone's being in the Rumble, and at the end of today's episode of us breaking down Raw, we will go and see everybody who declared for the Rumble on Monday Night Raw. But if we look here, Roxanne, Liv, Raquel, and Rhea and Io is all declared. So, who will win, to be honest? Like, I'm shocked. Obviously, I think it should be Liv Morgan. That's, like, my personal opinion right now. We would also see Asuka later in the night declare for the Royal Rumble, which could be a possibility. But my current one right now would be Liv Morgan, but I would not be surprised if WWE throws in a curveball and either has, like, Paige, or obviously Saraya, come back and, win the Rumble maybe. But that would be cool. I just can't see it currently because I thought she was coming back at Evolution. She didn't. So now we wonder. But one of the most unfortunate things in the past few years of pro wrestling just happened. And I'm going to say that because it is a super big deal to me. Javon Evans was facing El Grande Americano on just his second official debut match on Monday Night Raw, in which he would continue the storyline with El Grande Americano and just the Americano group. And we would see him get injured, which would call the match off. Now, it looked like he was holding on to that right arm. So, do we know what the injury is yet? No. There's been no sources saying anything about it. And mind you, I'm recording this directly after Monday Night Raw. So, there's probably injury reports coming out by the time this gets uploaded, by the time you see this. But by the time I'm recording it, there's no update on Javon. So, I'm super concerned. I'm wondering what's the issue. On why the match got to be called off. It was an awesome match leading up to this point, but Javon was just sitting on the outside, and they ended up calling the match off, where El Grande Americano would just start celebrating, and everybody was all confused. So, Javon Evans gets injured. Where do we go from here? Where does El Grande Americano and his group go from here, now that their main source of storyline is gone? And how long is Javon Evans going to be out? None of those questions are answered just yet, but I'm hoping answers by tonight, honestly. By tonight. I'm going to be camping the news sources. I'm going to be camping my sources. I'm just going to keep refreshing until we find out a Javon Evans update. And if you want to find up an update and it is not out by the time you're seeing this video, go to CZV Wrestling on Instagram, where the update will definitely be posted as soon as possible whenever it comes out. And then we would get to the main event. Finn Balor would come out with his old theme song, and boy, the crowd would pop. The crowd was all in for Finn Balor, but also was all in for CM Punk as well. But CM Punk would end up defeating Finn Balor to retain the World Heavyweight Championship and still would be the World Heavyweight Champion. Now, did we expect Finn Balor to beat CM Punk? Absolutely not. But at the same time, boy, did Finn Balor put up a great fight in which CM Punk and Finn Balor showed respect to each other after the match. But oh, good Lord, what a match. I think that this was the best Monday Night Raw main event in 2026 so far. Maybe main event in general across all companies. I really loved this match. I enjoyed this match. I think that it's definitely the best WWE match of 2026 so far. But man, this was an incredible match. I was really pleased with the match. I thought that it was awesome. And I think that overall, CM Punk and Finn Balor, those two come together. And especially Finn Balor going back to his old self, hitting the Too Sweet. It was just great. But yeah, great match here. I was really happy with this right here. And I think that it was so awesome to see Finn Balor come back with his old theme song. But even though he got beat, It is what it is. We would see Jey Uso declare for the 2026 Royal Rumble. We would see next week's New Day versus American Made versus Alpha Academy versus Los Americanos for the World Tag Team Championship #1 contender, and we'll find out who will face the Usos, which it was concerning how Jay was also here alone. I believe there was a report earlier in the week. I didn't dive too much into it because I didn't really expect much from it. Jimmy Uso might have been in that report that I just didn't see, but it was something about travel issues for WWE superstars, which I did not see. So if that was involving Jimmy Uso, that's the reason why he wasn't here on Monday Night Raw today. But if not, then I have no clue. But then we would say Bayley and Lyra both declare for the Rumble, and also Asuka would scream at Kyrie, and she would be able to get Kyrie and Asuka both into the Rumble, and Kyrie would say that she will do anything to see Asuka win the Rumble. So I'm expecting Asuka to lose the Rumble, and we'll be able to see a crash out of the century at Kyrie and Asuka, and we will see a funny moment. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. But this is the updated lineup for the Women's Royal Rumble match. So far on the poster, we have Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, Io Sky, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, and Asuka. So that's the lineup so far, or else that's what they've posted. Obviously, January 31st at the end of the month and just 2 weeks away. So it's going to be really interesting. And then for the men, we would see Rey Mysterio, Penta, and Dragon Lee all enter for the Royal Rumble match. But so far, that's all we got. This was a very interesting Monday Night Raw. I was super happy with it. I was happy with how it turned out. Every storyline was progressed perfectly, I feel like. Obviously, there was some bummers, like obviously Javon Evans getting injured, which you don't want to wish that upon anybody, especially a young and rising superstar who is taking WWE by storm. So, very good Monday Night Raw. Let me know down below what y'all thought, and I will see y'all boys in the next one. Deuces, deuces.